This session raises some questions for you and suggests how you can go about getting started to use student ideas as part of your ongoing teaching. According to research and the experience of many science teachers, even very young students come to school with ideas about scientific phenomena. They have ideas about how things work, and they have explanations for why things work the way they do. Although these ideas are often quite different from the concepts held by scientists, students hold on to their ideas very strongly. Students learn best when we take into account their ideas when we teach them science. This session presents a variety of ways for using student ideas to get them to test and refine those ideas. It raises questions and makes suggestions for how you can use student ideas as a guide to planning for effective classroom learning environments. As we view each of the segments of this session, see how many ways you can adapt what the teacher is doing for use in your own classroom. Now remember, the teacher is not necessarily modeling ideal ways of doing things. Rather, we hope these segments will stimulate you to think about what will work best for you in your own classroom.
Okay, in 4th grade, you worked on a batteries and bulbs unit. If you were here at Roosevelt, how many of you remember doing that? Okay, most people in here. Okay, how many of you remember working on hooking up the batteries and bulbs, that whole segment? Okay, that's one of the things we're going to be starting to work on today, only we're going to have you start out with the prediction sheet. And I'm going to give that to you and ask you to go through it with us together and identify which ones you think will and won't light on the battery and bulbs predictions. We're not there yet. Hold on just a second and we'll talk about it. When you work with the batteries and bulbs, you have 3 different items, right? Your battery, your wire, and your bulb, okay? On your prediction sheets, those are the 3 things that are listed there and that are hooked up in different ways, okay? Right now, all I want you to do is look at the sheet and the configuration of where the battery is, where the bulb is, and where the wire is, and determine whether you think that particular configuration of the battery, bulb, wire will light or not. Okay? And as you're working on this, as we go, I'd like you to think about why you think it won't or it will light. Okay? That's real important to think about why. Okay, look at number 1. Okay? And looking at your configuration, go ahead and circle either yes or no on that one. Okay, look to number 2. Okay, all right. In your, I'd like you to take out your journals right now, and if you would you turn to a clean page in it, all right? I want you to turn to a page that doesn't have anything on it, all right? Can you just grab a sheet of paper from one of the kids if you would? All right, and you have had a chance to think about some different ways that batteries and bulbs could be possibly lit. What I'd like you to do is draw a picture for me of the configuration or the way you need to set up your battery and bulb so that it will light. Okay, so go ahead and draw your picture. And I'd like you to think about, as you're drawing it, what is happening inside the battery and the bulb and the wire that creates the situation where it can light. What's happening there? Which one is a little different? I'll show you in just a minute. Okay, is most everybody finished? I know a few of you are adding some details. That's fine. Okay, again, keep thinking about what's going on that you can't see. Obviously, you see the parts that you're putting together, but think about what might be going on inside each of those parts that causes the bulb to light. Okay, I'm going to be handing out to you a prediction sheet. And on that prediction sheet, it's a little bit different than maybe ones you've seen before. I want you to take a look at what the prediction sheet looks like, and you're going to find a similar format in terms of the yes/no. And I'd like you to go ahead and, based on what you're looking at in your journal and the prediction sheet that you have, I want you to go ahead and decide whether these batteries and bulbs will light. We're going to go ahead first of all and tally to see as a class which ones you think will and won't. And then we're going to spend some time talking a little bit about what your reasoning is for why you think they will light or won't light, if that's the case. All right? So for number one, put your chart down. If you want to tally this on your sheet too to get the class average, go ahead. And you can kind of see whether you agree or disagree. I'll stop there. Okay. All right, for number one, how many of you said yes, it will light? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Okay. How many said no, it won't? 1, 2. Okay. On the second one, how many said yes, it will light? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 of you. How many said no, it won't? 1, 2, 3, 4. 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay. I'd like you to go back through real quick and take a look at each of them and see if there's any you want to change. Okay? Go back and see if there are any that you reconsidered and think maybe you weren't right the first time. If you feel like there's any you might want to change, go ahead and do that right now. How many think you're pretty much done? Okay, is there anything wrong with disagreeing with the group? No. Not at all. Do you feel sometimes a little insecure doing that? Yeah, you can. It's kind of a risk, isn't it? But there's certainly nothing wrong with, sticking up for what you believe and, staying to it if you really think you're right. And you might be, so you never know. Sometimes you can be proven that you're right and everybody else is wrong. So that'd be a pretty good feeling, right? All right. How many of you think your predictions are still pretty right? You're pretty confident. How many aren't so confident anymore? How many think, boy, did I bomb? Boy, there's some I should have really changed on that. All right, we'll see. Taking a look at number one again, let's go back to that first page. Okay? And take a look at your number one and the configuration of the light bulb and the wire and the battery. And can somebody tell me why you think that possibly will light? What's your reasoning there? Junianne, what do you think?
Because if you have the wire from both ends, then the bulb will light.
If you have the wire from both ends, then the bulb will light?
If you have the wire on the minus and the plus, and then the bulb will more than likely light.
Okay, how do you know that's the minus and the plus? Do you,
Because the thing with this thing, right? No, I can't explain it. But the thing that comes out is the
Okay.
plus.
okay, what's the shape of it? Can you, which side?
Left hand side.
Left-hand side? Okay, all right. Yesterday, what were we doing? We were working on the sheets that you were doing. What were we actually doing? Do you remember? What do we call that? Jan? We were
doing batteries and bulbs and predicting on what was going to happen.
Okay, predicting, okay. Why is that an important thing to do? Why is predicting something that is kind of helpful when you start something out? Anybody have any ideas? Julianne, you want to go ahead?
It gives you an idea of what might happen and what might not.
Gives you an idea of what might happen. And some of you are feeling pretty confident about your predictions, right? You thought, hey, I know what's going on here, I can do this. Today you're going to have a chance to find out if your predictions are right. But you're going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage because you're not going to have your prediction sheet there. How many have really good memories and can remember some of the different setups? Okay, we're going to challenge you and see if you can remember all of the different kinds of possibilities. How many were there total? Do you remember that?
16.
16, okay? So you've got 16 different possibilities that were on that sheet. Does that mean there are only 16 possibilities? What does that mean? Pardon?
It means big word.
It means what? Julianne, go ahead.
It means that there are other things, but you just use 16.
There are other things we could do also, and you can try those as well. If there's something that you want to try that wasn't on the prediction sheet yesterday, please feel free to do that. I think that'd be fine. We're going to go ahead, I'm going to pass out to you the equipment. This will be your passion. Yes.
Is Nikki making with you now?
Yes, no, she is not. She's in math.
I still have it here.
Right.
Thanks.
Yep. We will go ahead and pass out your packets. These are yours, and you need to put your name on them, okay? And what we'll do is put a packet at each, or the bucket at each of the tables. Will you go ahead and put your name on the front of those right now? But they'll be yours for a while. We're working on it. I want you to think about as you're working today. The first rule I want you to think about is I do not want you sharing materials with anybody else. You'll get a chance to do that later on. But for today, you can only use the materials in your packet, all right? So no combining batteries, no combining bulbs, no combining wires. All right, I'm going to wait just a minute because you're not quite ready for Rule 2. All right, Rule 2, I don't mind if you're talking. In fact, I want you to talk amongst yourselves, but we really need to keep the talking down so that we can hear the people when we're around to the different groups. So please try to keep your voices down as you work, okay? Fair enough? As you work today, you need to be recording in your journals what you're doing and which ones did and which ones didn't work. But more importantly, I want you to see if you can tell me why. Why did that work, and what is it about that particular configuration, battery bulb wire, that makes it light or doesn't make it light? And I want you to write those kinds of things down in your own words. If you want to talk about bumps and energy and things like that, fine, but you decide what kind of language you want to use. If I'm not sure about what you mean, I'll come around and ask you and say, wait a minute, what do you mean this thingamajig? What are you talking about? So I'll check on you on those kind of things. How many are ready to start? How many have started? Yeah. All right, I'll be coming around, so please start focusing in and you may begin. Okay. different activity, and I'm going to give you the answers to these so that you can see which ones you got right or wrong, okay? So if you would go ahead and, if you got it right, go ahead and start, and if you got it wrong, put a big check mark there, and so that you know that which ones you did get correctly done and which ones you haven't. And you can get a chance to check them later on when, we get the materials out again. You can test them yourself and see whether these are the right answers or not. Number 1 should have been yes. Okay, how many got that right? Super, oh, fantastic, huh? 2, number 2 was no. Okay, looks like the majority of the class was right on those first 2, right? Okay, so most of you were correct on that. Number 3 was also no. Okay, I can get it here. All right, so the majority of you were right on that one. Number 4 was no. Okay, looks like the whole class was right on that one, huh? Number 5 was also no. Majority of you were correct there. Number 6 was yes. Ooh, that one was one where we got about 50-50 in terms of class and who thought it was right and who thought it was wrong. How many got it right on that? Fantastic, good job. All right. All right, let's look at number 7, and that one was also no. Okay. 7 was no, and that one was split down the middle. Okay, you can check them later, Brandon, if you're not sure about that. You sound like you're surprised by that one. Are ya? Yeah. Are ya? Well, we'll give you a chance to test that one, okay? All right, number 8 was? No. You're right, that was a no. Okay.
Bulb, when it's touching the bigger end that has that thing sticking out, that's where usually all the acid is and everything, the electric and stuff like that. And so if you would put the wire on the other end, then that's where it's gonna ignite it, and then you would just get it out.
Okay, all right. Any others? Aaron?
I think it will light because it has a positive and negative charge, and also that usually when you get a battery pack, you have one end that's like sticking out, and that the plus end goes over there. So, if it's like a flashlight, then you can tell it'll light.
Okay, all right. Wendy?
I think it will light because the energy from the back will go up to the front where that little upper round circle is.
But say that part again.
I think the energy from the back will go up to the wire when it touches the light bulb, then it will light.
Okay, why do you think that?
I don't know.
You just do, huh? All right. Anybody else? Dax?
Well, you're getting energy, the light bulb is from both sides, and it's surging into the light bulb, so it's bound to light up because that little thing is where it gets the power to light up the bulb.
Can we call that little thing something? Everybody calls it that little thing. Is there another? The cap, the bump? All right, we can call it the bump, if that helps. Does everybody know what the bump is? Yeah. All right, let's call it the bump then. All right. Okay, if based on what you said for number 1, then will number 2 work? And if you think yes or no, did anybody think number 1 wouldn't work if they had